Remember when Pearl shapeshifted? I'm not talking about the time she took the form of Rose Quartz to stage Pink Diamond Shattering, or when she joined in the game of Steven Tag thousands of years later. I'm talking about when she turned into Greg Universe in a desperate plea to keep Rose by her side. Wait, what the hell? Of course, this wasn't something we saw in the show itself, but Rebecca Sugar revealed concept art of the incident not that long ago over on TikTok, and it's been living in my head rent-free ever since. And how could it not? We know Pearl was lethally down bad for Rose, but this is a new level of deranged, while also being pretty devastating once you think about the implications. This might be Pearl's darkest moment, the lowest point she ever hit, the darkest episode of Steven Universe that we never saw. So today, not only do I want to pinpoint when this would have happened in the timeline, but also highlight the other two instances where Pearl shapeshifted and unpack what this ability means to her and how each transformation represents different points in her character arc. Prepare to have your emotions shattered because this might get heavy. The first time Pearl shapeshifts is over 5,000 years prior to the events of the original series, when her and Rose conspire to end the Gem War by faking Pink Diamond's demise. Now I know a lot of people write this off as just Pink commanding Pearl to shapeshift, but there's a lot more to it. Pearl saw herself for the longest time as someone without agency, someone who needs to be told what to do. But the reality is, she had way more power in situations than she realized, and this is more apparent with Pink Diamond than anyone else. Pearl was intended to be a more sensible Pearl for Pink Diamond, grounding her impulsive decisions. Yet Pearl has always been prone to using her rationality to justify irrational things. She's an enabler. She practically created the persona of Rose Quartz, suggesting that Pink should shapeshift as a way to interact with other gems and explore the Earth incognito. We saw how that spiraled into Batman-level antics, something that Pearl wanted, as she admitted to having daydreams about running away on Earth with Rose Quartz specifically. She doesn't want to be with Pink, she wants to be with Rose. All of this is to say, Pearl associates shapeshifting with fantasy. Shapeshifting allows the two to live out their wildest dreams, and the persona of Rose Quartz embodies those dreams. So the stage shattering of Pink Diamond wasn't just Pearl obeying orders. It was her making a conscious decision to liberate her and Rose from Homeworld and make the fantasy she sought after a reality. In fact, we know it wasn't an order, but something of Pearl's own volition, because as they're making preparations, she says she can't believe she's about to do this. It's a small line of dialogue, but one that emphasizes that Pearl is shocked at her own defiance. For a brief moment, Pearl became the embodiment of their hopes and dreams to destroy what she perceived as the embodiment of the oppressive system that's been holding them back. Pink's only real command, the only thing Pearl didn't have agency towards, was being told that no one can know about what really happened. Pearl's agency is also why she felt immense regret after the Diamond Blast, asking why she did it. Her actions led to her comrades getting turned into monsters who can barely comprehend what happened to them. She was supposed to be the logical one, the one who prevents catastrophes like this. But she enabled Pink, planning the idea of shapeshifting in the first place. And she ultimately hid behind a selfless cause to live out her selfish fantasy. While the act of poofing Pink Diamond while imitating her alter ego is pretty traumatic in its own right, it's the guilt that really made Pearl swear off shapeshifting. What she thought was a long-term plan was actually pretty short-sighted and resulted in a mountain of casualties. Shapeshifting became taboo in Pearl's eyes, which I'm sure contributed to how often she clashed with Amethyst at the start of the series, someone who loves shapeshifting. But hey, as long as Rose is around and their fantasy is intact, Pearl will never have to shapeshift again. Last year, Rebecca Sugar created a TikTok account where they've been giving us a glimpse into the creative process, which of course includes a ton of Steven Universe art. This past May, she posted concept art and sketches of young Greg during the height of his rockstar days. But going through all of these pages, you'll notice that one of these are not like the others. You know, the canvas of sketches where Pearl has assumed Greg's appearance, much to Rose's discomfort. While these are only a handful of sketches, there's enough content context clues to piece together when this happened, why this happened, and why this specific flashback was omitted from the show proper. We all know the ballad of Greg, Rose, and Pearl. Greg and Rose hit it off, formed a meaningful connection, and Pearl was pretty salty to say the least. She thought Greg was just another one of Rose's flings. She's just entertaining him because he's entertaining to her. But ultimately, Rose's best match would have to be the one who was tailor-made for her, right? Another gem who could indulge in things that only gems could do, like fusion. Pearl thought she had this in the bag. So when she saw that the pair was able to look past fusion, that Rose was going to settle with Greg regardless, she panicked. Her anxiety and inner turmoil only worsened once Rose began expressing interest in having a child, sacrificing herself to make it happen. Suddenly, for the first time since the Gem War, their fantasy was in jeopardy, and it was because of a choice Rose made. Desperate to preserve their happily ever after, Pearl resorted to drastic measures and shape-shifted into Greg. Despite the immense guilt that's attached to shapeshifting, Pearl was willing to torment herself and take the form of the person she envied most to try and persuade Rose into believing that she doesn't need him. That Pearl can change just like a human, and unlike a human, she can be whatever Rose needs. Of course, this just saddened Rose, who begged Pearl to change back. But Rose has two pieces of dialogue on this page, and the second one made me question how Pearl was trying to win her over. How do I talk about this? Rose's first piece of dialogue is simply, "Pearl, please," expressing how uncomfortable she is by Pearl's stunt. But then what she said next made me raise an eyebrow. "Pearl, stop. It's okay. We can do this. Just don't be him." Do what exactly? Judging by the sketch in the top right corner, it could have just been fusion, and Pearl was trying to recreate Greg's dance, winning over Rose by having her fusion actually work at the end. But the more I thought about Pearl trying to prove to Rose that she doesn't need Greg, and that she can do anything a human can do, the more I wondered, was Pearl trying to have a moment of human intimacy with Rose? You see where I'm going with this? You see why this feels weird to talk about? You see why that would have been tough to put in a kid's show? TVPG only gets you so far, my nigga. To be blunt, Greg and Rose had to bump uglies for Steven to be born. Rose used shapeshifting to give herself a womb and all the other reproductive organs to make it all happen. And whether or not she talked about this experience with Pearl, or if Pearl found out on her own because she can be kinda creepy, she might have told Rose that she wanted to experience the act for herself. Something that would have made Rose happy because, hey, Pearl's finally showing interest in humans. But really, Pearl was just trying to upstage Greg, and it just wasn't the vibe. Pearl reopened old wounds, and of course, it wasn't worth it. It just increased the distance between them. Now, a more family-friendly take on this would be something that's equally ridiculous, but a lot more amusing. Pearl shapeshifting into Greg and trying to serenade Rose with one of his songs, but she doesn't know how to play guitar, so it sounds horrendous, and she's singing really off-key, everyone's cringing, it's still not a good time. Even if you clean up this interpretation though, I think I know why we never saw this in the series itself. All flashbacks in Steven Universe serve a purpose. The Rose and Greg's flashback in particular tend to come up pretty organically, like when Steven and Connie fused in front of Greg, so he told them about the time he tried fusing with Rose. Pearl would have been the one who told Steven about this moment, but I turned into your dad to manipulate your mom isn't something you just spring on a boy, and we saw how the opposite turned out for Amethyst. This flashback only would have worked if Steven was in a situation where his romantic relationship is in jeopardy, and his attempts to keep Connie by his side only pushed her away further. So he goes to Pearl for advice, and she hits him with the story, more or less informing him that he can't control how things shake out, but he can control how he responds to situations, and he can't respond in a selfish manner. Which maybe could have worked during Steven and Connie's brief falling out in season 5, or after Steven's proposal in the future, but if my interpretation is correct, I do think this story is better suited for a more adult Steven universe. Something that's more along the lines of Fiona and Cake. It's TV-14, and can get away with a lot more. So if we ever do get that sought after revival, this would definitely be a flashback that transitions the series into a more mature direction. Although that might mean Steven is dealing with relationship problems again, which, while realistic, because conflict can happen in even the healthiest of relationships, I know a lot of people would still be pissed if Steven went through a depressive episode after a Connie related incident again. It's happened a lot by now. I don't want to end this video on a downer note, so let's talk about the third and so far final time Pearl shapeshifted in the Steven Universe Future episode, Snow Day, an episode where Pearl gets to redefine what shapeshifting means to her. By this point, the Cryptic Gems have been healed, and the truth about Pink Diamond was out into the world. A weight was lifted off Pearl's shoulders, and she finally began to move on from Rose Quartz. Steven's on the cusp of adulthood, so she succeeded in raising him. She was there for Rose's son. She's put herself out there and started to connect with other women, and I think the fact she's hitting it off with human beings is something that would have made Rose really happy. For Pearl to see what she saw on the planet. I wouldn't say she's healed, but she's healing! With the Earth at peace and Homeworld no longer breathing down their neck, Pearl no longer has to chase after a fantasy, and instead embrace reality. So like Amethyst and Garnet, she can use shapeshifting recreationally. And with Snow Day in particular, instead of shapeshifting for selfish reasons, her cause is selfless, as she and the other crystal gems just want to cheer Steven up, helping him remember that it's okay to relax and just enjoy life. The very lesson that he taught them when he was a kid. It's okay to take a stroll down memory lane and partake in the things that you used to do when you were younger for no other reason than it makes you happy. A sentiment that I hope carries over to these SU videos that I've been doing over the past few months. I hope these take you back to simpler times while also giving you a greater appreciation for the show. Making these has definitely been getting me through the horrors of adulthood. And with that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Pearl's history of shapeshifting. Drop them in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Insta at RoundtableVids and at AwestruckVox. Shout out to ArtWebCoda for an amazing thumbnail. For more of his amazing work, give him a follow over on Instagram, and be sure to check out Toondrip for some dope Steven Universe inspired merch. Links to everything in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please sure to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. AwestruckVox, signing out.